Yeah.
Hey.
Ooh. Live from a Vanguard scented throw pillow.
Oh. That sounds... I imagine Vanguard smells like lavender.
It's yet another Woke Wednesday edition of Business Pants, joined as always by analyst hole Matt Mascardi.
Who? In
today's woke data flavored meatless cucumbers called February 7th, 2024, the top 10 stories from our ESG News headline randomizer 8000. Whew. And a game called Blackrock Sez. What's that? I don't know what that is. It's like Simon Says? Blackrock Sez.
A little bit. So I'll preface the show with the game. So what I set up is for every one of your stories, I pulled something
I didn't know you were paying attention.
BlackRock voted on or came out and said, not about the story, but about something adjacent to the story. And you're just going to guess what they said.
I think the real news to our audience is that Matt is paying attention to the pre-production of our show. I think that's a miracle.
That doesn't sound correct.
Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlow Analytics, the only ESG data platform to measure real board influence and diversity power gaps. Matt, for those of you who appreciate our show, and I don't know why you wouldn't, because it's more...
or who you are.
In 1 week of show, it's more analysis that probably goes on in a whole year of a asset manager. But I will tell you this, not only do I use our database regularly, but you showed me a way today of generating a report quickly about a single equity so that you can have all the data in front of you. It's actually quite useful. And again, I am a research expert. I've been doing this for 4,000 years. I'm not just saying this.
Well, I mean... look, you might just be saying this.
No, I'm not. I use our data.
But you don't. The point is, you don't have to take Damien's word for it. And I can show it to you, right? Like, look, we're on a live stream, so here's what it looks like. I'm going to show you right now. One tab, report. I know, but this is what it looks like. So if you're watching the live stream, this is what I'm talking about. This is who we're doing for the proxy countdown.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, a different show.
Deere and Company.
Deere and Company, we're doing for the big vote. They got a vote coming up.
I like when companies are called and Company. I like that. Deere and Company. It's kind of like,
who do you
like
think
a rock
is in
band
that company? Yeah.
Elton John and guitarist.
But it's got all the stats of the company, what kind of board they are, who runs the board, the connections between the board members, a groupthink analysis. I mean, what isn't there here?
Before I get to the show, I will say this. No offense to some of our data providers include MSCI, S-Gage. No offense to either one of those wonderful data analytics provider companies, whatever they are. But our system is just easier for me to use on the fly when I'm doing research. It's a lot of it's the same data. It's just easier for me to use than going into MSCI and looking up an equity and downloading a PDF and all that nonsense.
There is an advantage to looking at, we're analysts, but we're also storytellers. There's an advantage to looking at a report that was generated by a storyteller. It's just got more coherence.
All right, stop it.
No, I don't want to stop it. I want to do this forever. Here we go.
Remember, these are the top 10 stories from our ESG News headline randomizer 8000. Here we go. The first one, New York Community Bank Corp. stock slides as governance risk in focus.
Ooh, what does that even mean?
The New York Community Bank said on Tuesday it was looking for candidates to fill up the chief risk officer and chief audit executive positions after Bloomberg first reported about the departures a day earlier. But I ask you this, Matt, could this be a situation where the analysts at Moody's go straight to jail in New Hampshire? Because on Tuesday, Moody's cut the bank's credit rating to junk and warned of further downgrades. How do you get below? What's below junk? Like maggots? What's rat carcass? What's below junk?
I believe so. But does
wait. I want to tell you what they said. What
did they say?
They said the downgrade reflects Moody's views that New York Community Bank faces high governance risks from its transitions with regards to the leadership of its okay, blah blah blah. But here's my point: is that in New Hampshire they want to pass a bill that puts ESG analysts into jail for up to 20 years if they do things like ESG.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Does Moody's have an office in New Hampshire? Because
I hope not.
Doesn't so now I guess
Governance risk.
So this would mean that
Mm-hmm.
if the law passes, if you're working at like the New Hampshire state pension,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot look at Moody's report at all because they said the word governance, right?
You can't look at this. You can't look at this Reuters article. You can't look at the Bloomberg article. You can't. There's a lot of going on here that cites governance risk, including you can't listen to the shareholders because the stock's already down over 10%. You can't, because of the governance risk, you can't listen to them either.
That's hard. That actually is hard.
It's hard.
I mean, that's hard work to avoid all that. Well, here
Let's play our game. Yeah.
Let's play the game, and we'll try this, okay? Like, I want you to take a guess. What did BlackRock say about New York Community Bank Corp's board in 2023?
What do they say? Like, how do they vote?
Yeah, like you're put yourself in BlackRock's shoes. What do you think BlackRock thought about when they voted in 2023?
Am I playing this game like an analyst or playing the game like a normal idiot that I am?
Normal idiot, mostly.
Well, I would think that if all this is going on at New York Community Bank, including that there are vacancies at Chief Risk Officer and Chief Audit Executive positions. That's serious. That's a major governance risk. I would think that BlackRock might be sending a message to at least 20% of the board with against votes.
No, you would be wrong. 100% for every single member of this board.
Well,
and you knew that, but you played the game. Thank
BlackRock, you know, if you bought our data, you could at least do something that I'm advocating for, which is just you could create an annual vacancy. If you think about it, if the average tenure on a board is what? I don't even know, like 8 years?
It's like 7 years on one board, but 14 cumulative across multiple boards.
And the average board size is about 8 to 10 members. I don't know. It's about that range.
Yeah.
But so if every year you target one of these directors who's going to be leaving anyway, right?
Yeah, get rid of the lowest performer.
Then you can install people who have that expertise. Like maybe this year you want to focus on someone who has actual risk expertise.
Except that what it is that you are suggesting is illegal in New Hampshire potentially.
Okay, but I'm talking about
BlackRock just avoided jail.
They're in New York.
BlackRock just avoided going to jail. That's all I'm saying.
Next story. Remember, these are just in random order. Matt, I ask you, has ESG finally become an adjective the way we think, the way we joke about constantly on the show? Because here's the headline out of Bloomberg. Brazil mogul wants to sell the world's best ESG chocolate. See, our dumb sense of humor has finally gone mainstream. This is what we do here.
This is like if somebody took something John Oliver said and made it a product. Don't do this.
So
this is horrible.
This is about a company called Dango, and Dango CEO Tulio Landon said he believes the quality of the chocolate should be as good as its ESG credentials. So there you go. I just wanted to point this out. ESG chocolate. It's a thing.
ESG credentialed chocolate is what he's saying.
Let's play the game.
So let's play the game. Dango is not a publicly traded company.
Okay, not yet.
Not currently. But there is mention that the CEO of Dango said. He said that they where does he say it?
Yeah, I took that out. He wants them to be the quality as good as Lindt's chocolate.
As good as Lindt chocolate.
Lindt's chocolate, which I enjoy. I love Lindt.
So
dark chocolate with sea salt, delicious.
BlackRock says what about Lindt chocolate, which is a publicly traded board?
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. Lindt chocolate. Okay.
Lindt chocolate is public.
Now, this is a bit of a curveball of a BlackRock says, because I don't really know what's going on at BlackRock, at Lindt. So I have no reason to believe anything bad's happening. So I'll just say they don't say anything about Lindt. They say they love everybody at Lindt because it's delicious.
It turns out they were a little upset with everybody, but voted for almost all of them.
Oh,
so
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah.
So here's the thing. At Lindt, they voted for most of the directors.
Okay.
But they did pick out an against, who's a member, Rudolph Sprungli. I don't know how to say anybody's name here.
Well, I was going to ask you, did they vote for Dieter Weisskopf?
They did vote for Dieter.
What about Thomas Rinderknecht?
They did vote for Thomas
good.
Rinderknecht.
Okay, all right.
So we're okay.
I feel better.
But Silvio Denz and Rudolf Sprungli are both against because they were nom-committee members and they did not like the nom-committee. And the nom-committee chair was Ernst Tanner, voted against. They were unhappy. And this is what they said. They said it is they're the ones who are responsible for the poorly structured board.
Oh, so BlackRock is doing their job. They are looking at things. But let me point out a little nuance here. Is that actually, Matt, is that Sprungli and Borkin were actually voted for the board, but BlackRock was really doing its job here. They don't want them on the nomination and compensation committee. They actually have. There's an ability in this jurisdiction to vote on the actual composition of committees. So this is how serious BlackRock is about the data, which is why all the people at BlackRock listening to us now really should reach out to us.
Here's the thing that's a little confusing. The remuneration is still a non-binding vote, though. Like, you could put the people on the committee.
Swiss is a Swiss company.
You can vote for them on the board. You can vote them off of a committee, but then you can weigh in on the composition itself, and it's non-binding. Like, everything else is binding.
Let's not forget that Switzerland is very neutral. They pretend to be neutral, so I think this is why it's non-binding.
Well, my message would be for the Brazilian mogul who's running Dengo, selling ESG chocolate, do not choose Lindt as your ESG comp because they're not great.
I got a lot here. Come on.
Yeah, go.
Next, Tesla CEO Elon Musk. We talk about Elon on this show. Here's the headline. Tesla CEO Elon Musk needs to shut up, but not step down, according to an investor. No. I don't even know how that works. But this is Ross Gerber. He's the CEO at Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. He actually tried to get on the Tesla board years ago, but failed. He said, quote, the cost of Elon's behavior is really hurting shareholders. He said, Elon is eroding the value of the brand. He also says that that the board needs to confront him and expect so that Tesla gets better results. But despite all this, Matt, he doesn't want him to step down. He just wants him to shut up. How does that work? I don't understand this.
Can we ask Ross to shut up, actually? Like, the guy owns 400,000 shares.
Yeah, that's a lot.
He's the largest individual shareholder, I think, outside of Elon himself.
Yeah.
But Elon himself owns 13 or 16% of the company, right?
Like, he wants the CEO to shut up, but not to step down. That's pretty drastic. Yeah.
He's also said that Elon Musk is a drain on Tesla's returns, but will not sell or vote him out.
Feels important. All this feels important.
What is the point of you talking? If you're just all you do is go on CNBC and say, we own a lot of shares. We're unhappy with Elon Musk, but we continue to vote for him and do whatever he says. What's the point of that?
Whenever I have a Elon Musk story, I like to grab a couple of other headlines that I grabbed just within the last 24 hours, just so you have a constant perspective on Elon Musk.
You mean
here's two
constant drip torture.
Yeah, two other stories, unrelated, but still Elon Musk centered. First one: Tesla sold only one car in South Korea last month. How about that for a CEO of a car company?
That's pretty good.
One car. And then also this other story from The Guardian, SpaceX accused of sexual harassment and discrimination in ex-workers lawsuit. Former employees condemn frat-style atmosphere. That's what's going on in Elon Musk's world.
It's clear Tesla is the Activision Blizzard of cars. They make great games at Activision Blizzard, and they're horrible human beings.
Well, I bet you Activision Blizzard sold more than one video game in South Korea last month.
That's true. I did hear that. Well, let's play Blackrock Sez, because let's find out what BlackRock actually says. This one's important, right? This is one of the biggest companies in the world now, with the loudest, most richest man running it. What do you think BlackRock says about the people who are leading Tesla?
Oh, I would honestly, I would think they'd be irate at this point. I mean, something has to change. I mean, there is so much value that could be unlocked at a company like this. Every month, this idiot, this hateful, racist, anti-Semitic, anti-trans idiot is killing the brand, the value of the brand.
But this is in 2023 they voted.
No, I would really hope that BlackRock made a strong statement against at least get rid of Kimball Musk and James Murdoch. They vacation together. Get rid of those two idiots. No?
So the Kimball Musk and James
Shocked.
Murdoch votes happened in 2022 because it's a classified board.
Oh, right,
so,
yes. Another way that Elon Musk
staggered.
exerts control over his company, yes.
Right. They voted in 2022 for Kimball, but against Murdoch.
Can you imagine?
I can't.
Can you imagine that you're an analyst at BlackRock and you vote even one time for the brother of the CEO who has no expertise in the automotive industry? You should quit right now.
You should.
Just quit your job. You're at the wrong job.
Yeah, you're not doing any.
Honestly.
You don't actually need data points for that. That one's easy.
And frankly, I bet the public school in your neighborhood needs bright people who went to good colleges like you. Go there, work there, become a history teacher, whatever you want to do. But you are at the wrong job if you're voting for the brother of the CEO.
In 2020, BlackRock said of Robin Denholm that she was not aligned with shareholders, that she was not a good representative for shareholders. They voted against her.
She's the problem. She
was the problem in 2020. That was their vote. But in 2023, when her classified vote came back up, 100% for, no problem. No problem there. For Elon, for Robin Denholm, and for ex-Tesla founder / worker CFO, right? JB Straubel. They also voted for him. So now BlackRock has sanctioned a board with the brother, a co-founder who wasn't on the board, and a woman they said is not fit to run the board in favor of investors.
All right, moving on. Let's do this one quickly.
I want
to plug the Harvard Law School Forum on Corporate Governance. We enjoy the blog there. This is a story from there. It's called "Voting on ESG: Ever Widening Differences." Right. All this is doing, Matt, is pointing out that in the U.S., the support for ESG resolutions at publicly traded companies is going down quickly since 2021. I mean, really just very fast, like from 63% support in 2021 down to 48% in 2023. And in Europe, it has remained absolutely steady at 98% support. That's it. That's the takeaway from this blog piece over there.
So then what does BlackRock say about their voting on shareholder proposals?
Well, the simpleton in me, the populist mathematician in me would assume that BlackRock support must also be down if support is down across the U.S., right? That's my guess.
I mean, it's like trick math. You nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed the trick math.
Right.
Here's the headline that came out about a month ago. BlackRock stresses financial strength over ESG in company calls.
Sure.
They are voting against shareholder proposals almost uniformly at this
financial
point.
strength. Isn't financial strength over ESG? Isn't that like a dog? It's like a dog whistle, right?
Yeah,
for the Texan men with guns.
Yes.
So Larry Fink is appealing to Texas.
We'll get to that.
Meta in the news. Meta's Oversight Board, Matt, is in the news.
Oh, yeah. They have that. I forgot.
Another kind of board. Meta's Oversight Board has determined a Facebook video wrongfully suggesting that U.S. President Joe Biden is a pedophile. I could just stop the show right there.
Yeah, we need. There's a dot.
This is what's on Facebook. Okay, they're saying that determined that video does not violate the company's current rules, while deeming those rules incoherent. The board, the Oversight Board suggested that Meta update the rule to cover both audio and video content, regardless of whether AI was used, and to apply labels identifying it as manipulated. But here's the point. They're leaving the video up of the president being a pedophile because the rule is incoherent, instead of keeping the video off until Meta fixes the incoherence of its own rules. This is the Meta Oversight Board. And I want to quickly go into the Meta Oversight Board because I actually discovered something interesting this morning that I didn't really know. First of all, Matt, the Meta Oversight Board is 22 members, okay?
That's a lot. That's
11 women, 14 people of color.
What?
So this is unlike any
the
public
wokest board ever.
This is like any public board anywhere, okay? And I ask you, I have a short quiz for you. How many of the profiles of these 22 members mention any of these things? Human rights, hate speech moderation, civil rights, role of media in society, women's rights, children's rights, LGBTQ plus rights. How many of those 22 profiles mention those things?
I mean, at least half, right? Like if you're
Yes,
going to,
absolutely. You're right.
like woke wash us and gaslight us, it's got to be at least half.
15 out of 22 profiles mention that. Okay, but here's the wrinkle, Matt, is that there's actually there is an oversight board of the Meta Oversight Board. It's called the Board of Trustees, right?
Oh, my head just exploded.
I'm serious. And the trustees are responsible for safeguarding the independence of the board and blah, 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 right? They're the oversight body of the Meta Oversight Board. And this board, Matt, consists merely of 6 white people.
Ooh, that's
so
fun.
You see the difference already? You see what's happening already?
Well,
and I want to point out
have human rights in their bios.
This is what I want to point out. Unlike the Meta Oversight Board, where there are no directors of publicly traded companies, here's what's going on in the Board of Trustees, right? First of all, the chair is Stephen Neal. He's a director at NVIDIA. There's also Maria Week. She sits on the boards of Daimler Truck and Intap. These are 2 companies in our database, Matt. In fact, in her most recent role, Marie led IBM's entry into blockchain. So I have no idea what this has to do.
I hate that.
And finally, there's Shireen Shalabi. He is the retired chair at Rasmala, a Dubai-based investment bank, and retired managing partner of Accenture's capital markets industry sector. Matt, I have no idea what these people... Yeah, thank you. What are we doing?
A Dubai-based investment bank?
Like, what are we doing? I have no idea.
Is the oversight of a bunch of people who talk about human rights problems on the platform.
And notice how the Oversight Board has no directors from publicly traded companies, but the board in charge of providing oversight of them, that's where you put Mark's friends.
That's where you put your friends. That's where you put the friends. Well, look, we know that the Oversight Board is actually capitalized by Facebook, right? So...
Yeah, and that's another disturbing part is that I looked at the charter, I looked at the bylaws, and because I wanted to know how much these members were paid, and here's the most information I could get out of its bylaws. Each member will be compensated quarterly in the amount specified in their contract.
Whoa! That's a lot of information.
How's that for disclosure? All right, what do you got? Come on.
All right, here's what Blackrock says. What does Blackrock have to say about Meta and their community standards and user content?
Oh God, I would think BlackRock would rail against the Facebook board annually, the Meta board annually, because it's a fake public company. It's a dictator control, right? I would think that BlackRock would at least send a message on an annual basis that we need proper oversight at probably one of the world's most, not probably, at one of the world's most important companies. I would say they voted against at least half the board.
You would be wrong. Not only did they vote for every member of the board in 2023, but there was a shareholder proposal requesting a report on enforcement of community standards and user content. That's what the headline of the shareholder proposal. BlackRock voted against that report.
I don't understand.
Saying the company already provides sufficient disclosure. So you see what happened.
I don't understand.
They institute the Oversight Board, and BlackRock can say year in and year out, we don't need any more information because they have an Oversight Board that discloses. You didn't even say the part that strikes me as most egregious about this decision, which is that the video of Joe Biden that was doctored to make him seem like a pedophile was released in January of 2023, went viral in early 2023, and they ruled on it 2 days ago. They came out with their decision 2 days ago.
So it's already been up 13 or 14 months. And let's not forget that this is an election year in the U.S., so Congratulations, Meta.
Congratulations.
You're,
Well done.
you're rotting the brains of our electorate. All right, moving on. Here's an interesting one. This one headline's called "Disney Taps Professor Ludwig von Drake to Help Teach How to Vote."
Is that a real person?
Okay, I watched this video. This is on a website called VoteDisney.com. There's a huge proxy contest going on at Disney. There's two different groups coming after Disney. There's Trian Group and Blackwell's, right? So this is how Disney dealt with it. They had a cute little animated video, and with a duck, animated duck.
I already don't like it.
Basically telling the shareholders how to vote. In fact, these are some quotes from that video. Remember, it's important you vote only for Disney's 12 nominees.
Okay.
The duck also says, do not vote for the Trian Group or Blackwell's nominees.
Every shareholder listens to a duck.
And then it said again, important you vote only for Disney's 12 nominees. And then it repeats again, do not vote for the... So the duck is telling shareholders, they're not suggesting what the board thinks. They're telling you how to vote. The duck
does seem like it has some sort of glitch, as in it can only say the same thing.
What do you got?
But
Let's go to
what
the game.
did Blackrock
Says.
say? Does Blackrock agree with the duck, or does it agree with Trian and Blackwell's?
Well, again, I haven't done a deep dive on Disney in the last 24 hours, but I would say I would at least apply my 10% rule here, right? There's probably a lot of bloated CEOs on this board, right, who don't necessarily have expertise in Disney's area of business. So I would say that BlackRock at least targeted one director to remove so that they could put on someone with better expertise. That's my guess.
I really love you talking so much when the answer is just they voted for everybody. That's it.
So this is the board they support is the one that
Is the
that
Disney
famously
board.
bungles succession planning repeatedly bungles succession planning so much that they can't find a new CEO.
But here's
this is the board they
fascinating-
support.
The fascinating part about these activist fights is if BlackRock votes for Trian or Blackwell's nominees, aren't they explicitly saying that the board we voted for last year was not good? Right? Because it's the same board for the most part, and they voted for everyone with no comment. So now if they voted against somebody and for someone else, they're saying we're just realizing that the board that we liked wasn't good. What are they saying? It doesn't matter because they voted for everybody.
Let's move on. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one. The EU agrees its first ever rules for ESG raters. Okay, that's the headline. ESG ratings providers in the European Union will have to be authorized and supervised by the European Securities and Markets Authority. Raters will have to explicitly disclose if their ratings cover how a company's operations affect the environmental or social factors such as human rights, not just the impact of ESG on a company's bottom line.
Okay.
That's all I got there.
But you know what BlackRock says?
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay. Nothing at all. They don't really comment on these things, and I think they don't care.
They're out of that game.
They don't do any of the ratings. So, they buy the ratings from everybody, and then, as we can see based on their votes, casually ignore them.
I would think the world's largest owner might want to weigh in on this, though. It seems important.
Someone may be weighing in, but there's been no statements that I've seen. There's nothing there to see. Go on. Move on.
Moving on. I will ask you this. Will these new rules apply to former President Donald Trump? Because here's the headline. Trump says Bud Light ad was a mistake of epic proportions, threatens to release list of woke companies. Matt,
Whoa, that's like a rating.
That's an ESG rating, right? That's ESG analysis.
Trump's doing the ESG.
Trump's doing us. He's now us.
He's got you need a criteria by which you call something woke. What data is he using? Is he buying free float analytics? What is he doing?
I really do want to dive a little bit into this post. This is from Truth Social, which I know no one's really ever heard of, but it's the competitor of I don't know why they need a right-wing competitor of a right-wing company called X, formerly known as Twitter,
I don't know.
But they have it. I want to go into what Trump said, though, because this is very much in our wheelhouse. He says the Bud Light ad was a mistake of epic proportions. He's referring to giving a can of beer to one trans woman.
Yeah, that happened one time. They
One
gave
to
one
Dylan
can
Mulvaney.
to one person.
That's the mistake of epic proportions. So we're starting off with a little bit of hate, whatever.
Okay.
But Trump says Anheuser-Busch is not a woke company.
Ooh.
But I can give you plenty that are, and building a list and might just release it for the world to see. Why not? The radical left does it viciously to well-run conservative companies. He's talking about MSCI, I guess, and Sustainalytics, right?
There's one more thing he says after that.
He calls them very nasty, but that's the way they play the game, right?
He says, why not? The radical left does it viciously to well-run conservative companies and people.
Which they don't.
That's us. That's
Okay, right.
us.
It's true, but they don't do that. We do that.
No, they don't do that. We do that.
We're the
though.
only ones not afraid to actually
Are
talk
we
about the
radical
people
left?
who
I don't
run
feel
companies.
that radical.
He's okay. Now he makes a case for. Now he veers off and bizarrely supports stakeholder capitalism. Okay.
Ooh, I like this. Continue.
He says, on the other hand, Anheuser-Busch spends $700 million a year with our great farmers.
a data point.
Employs 65,000 Americans, of which 1,500 are veterans. They've raised over $30 million and given 44,000 scholarships to families of fallen servicemen and women, blah, 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 blah. What he's making the case is that part of the reason why they're great, Matt, is not just the bottom line that New Hampshire is obsessed with. It's because the company does all these things for its stakeholders.
Yes.
So first of all, Trump will be going to jail in New Hampshire for being an ESG analyst, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Second of all, okay, I'll just finish this. He says, Anheuser-Busch is a great American brand that perhaps deserves a second chance. What do you think? Perhaps instead we should be going after those companies that are looking to destroy America. So I don't know what he's referring to. The companies that are looking to destroy America are who? Is that like Apple? Because they're very woke. Is that Disney? Is that MSCI?
Well, he laughed at the Disney fight. It must be.
Who? What are the companies that are looking to destroy America? Do we know?
Anybody who has a trans person holding
NVIDIA?
a can of something. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who we're referring to. Yeah.
But what I like about this is the trap he falls into when we made ESG ratings back in the day, because we did that with our bare hands. We're in the muck of data.
Yeah, I still have
ratings.
a little bit of red Play-Doh under one of my fingernails.
We actually would look at data points like philanthropic activity and discount it because even the numbers he's suggesting, $30 million for 44,000 scholarships, right? He's $700 million a year on our great farmers. We would contextualize those and say, is this even material? Is it relevant?
Sure.
Is it having an outcome? He didn't even do that. So he's on ESG 1.0. He's, you know what he is? SRI, socially responsible investing.
Yeah. Either way, he's going to jail in New Hampshire, right?
It's a win either way.
Yeah.
Which means you need to tell me what Blackrock says about Anheuser-Busch.
Well, I will tell you this. BlackRock has been extremely, much to my chagrin, has been extremely vocal about pulling away from its stance on ESG, right? It doesn't even talk about climate anymore in Larry Fink's annual letter. It's just out. It's out on all that game. So I would think that they would be very angry at Anheuser-Busch for dabbling in the woke wars, and they would probably target some of the board to vote out.
So you're right, but for the wrong reasons.
Oh, damn it.
So I'm going to give you credit, though, because they did vote against a lot of the board because they called them non-independent directors or inadequately independent. In fact,
interesting.
Why is J.B. Straubel a straight four?
Kimball Musk, J.B. Straubel, James Murdoch, Aaron Price, the Delaware Chancery Court, in fact, determined that it's not an independently sufficient board.
They said it was a joke. The law said it was a joke.
Yes.
So they're doing your fiduciary job for you. And
and if you need any evidence of this, BlackRock, you can either buy our data or you can reach out to the Delaware Chancery Report and read that 200-page report about Tesla.
Or read the proxy. But here you go. When faced with re-election of Alejandro Santo Domingo on the Anheuser, the AB InBev board as a restricted share director, they wrote non-independent director or inadequately independent board against. So I don't know. I don't know what the standard is here. It's just sometimes you should be super independent. Sometimes we don't care if you're the brother.
Let's try to wrap up this show.
Someday.
Too quickly. 5 years after his infamous ousting from the co-working company he founded, Adam Newman is trying to buy back WeWork.
I love this. This makes me happy.
And here's a shock, Matt. But WeWork advisors have appeared hesitant to go to the negotiating table with the company's former CEO. So they're doing their due diligence. It sounds like they would vote against Adam Newman on the board. Unlike BlackRock, maybe.
I don't have much of a Blackrock Sez here, but I'll ask you just a straight up question. Will BlackRock be involved?
Well, I would think, yes, they're involved with everything, are they not?
Yes, that's correct. They will be involved. Okay. They actually have 134 million in WeWork secured notes, which are entitled to a settlement if they settle, and about 102,000 WeWork shares, which is equity that would get wiped out.
Well, the scary thing is that they probably would have voted if it had gotten this far as a publicly traded company, which it didn't because Adam Newman was ousted before the IPO, I believe. They probably would have supported his director candidacy, right, in the annual election. If they're voting for Kimball Musk and Elon Musk, they would have supported.
They probably would have supported the idea that his wife would inherit everything at the company.
Yeah, because that was in the
was in the registration statement, the S1.
If Adam Newman died, all of the power, all control would go over his wife. Speaking of which, let's end the show. Well, let's end my segment. I don't know if you have anything.
I got one liner after this.
So speaking of CEOs dying, Meta warns that Mark Zuckerberg could die at any moment, and I'm not making a joke.
No, I know.
In the company's annual financial report, Meta warned that Zuck has taken to engaging in various high-risk activities such as combat sports, extreme sports, and recreational aviation, which carry the risk of serious injury and death. If Mr. Zuckerberg were to become unavailable for any reason, there could be a material adverse impact on our operations.
I have a quick question. Why do they bother with all these disclosures at all? Why don't they just say one risk factor, which is you bought a company that someone else owns and runs, everything that person does, anything that happens, anything that comes to their brain, or if they're dead, you probably lose all your money. Like, do you need anything else? Isn't everything else fake?
This sounds like governance risk too, right? So they're going to jail in New Hampshire, right?
Don't go to New Hampshire.
Doesn't this sound like governance risk, right? If the CEO dies, and because
sound like that.
Because the structure of the company was set up that there's absolutely no oversight, then the company's in trouble. But this sounds like governance risk, no?
Speaking of, what does BlackRock say in the 2023 shareholder proposal that Meta faced about oversight and risk?
Well, I'm going to apply what I've learned on the show thus far, and that is this, Matt. They don't care.
Wow. You have finally hit it on the head. If I could find the answer correct, I would say you're correct because they voted
the one time I got it right, I don't even get the stupid sound effect.
You did. You got it eventually.
I didn't hear it
happened eventually.
All right.
All right, which brings me to my little wrap up. Why did we play Blackrock Sez today? Mm-hmm. I just want it because it's fun for nobody really. Or we could have played it because there was this headline. BlackRock CEO Fink woos Texas after ESG spat. So Fink, who was incredibly forceful in his Kabuki Theater letters to Larry Fink to CEOs about climate change. He called it an existential risk bigger than the 2008 financial crisis without the benefit of the Fed to backstop it. Mm-hmm. So he showed up in Texas as a co-sponsor of an event with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is the one who published the list of banned companies that included BlackRock, and now Dan Patrick has called Fink the king of Wall Street. So really all this is about is showing you BlackRock finance is not about setting policy. It's not about an agenda. In fact, they don't care about anything. Their only policy is not caring, such that they just vote with the whims of their clients. They want to look a certain way. All they want is stock go up. It's all theater otherwise. Everything else is fake.
And I want to say something that a point that you maybe glossed over a little bit. In what BlackRock voted against at Meta was this, they were voted against supporting a commission A shareholder proposal asking to commission an independent review of audit and risk oversight committee.
That's right. Yes.
So that seems like a very simple ask at a company that is run by a dictator, right? Who not only controls the voting power, but according to our data, controls the influence. The board is stacked of sycophants, blah, blah, blah. This seems like an easy yes, right? Easy support.
You would think, yes.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
But that's all we got. So that was a long show.
Yeah.
We didn't have that much this morning. We had like pre-production meetings. We weren't sure what we were going to do. And that's,
you weren't sure. You weren't.
Yeah, I
was
wasn't
sure.
I'm exhausted. That's Hazelnut Rellis. I am your analyst hole, Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float. This was Business Pants. Tomorrow, we already said it, but on the proxy countdown, we are going to do for the big vote, Deere and Company. If you want to know how to vote on that proxy, it's going to be there. But we got trade wire moves. We've got proxy cage matches going on. There's a lot going on. We got vote results. So check out that show tomorrow. Otherwise, on Friday, we'll wrap up the week, and we're going to do it on the early side. So if you watch the live stream, get some coffee and watch it. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Goodbye.